You know what probably nobody says? I miss the old Toyota Venza. Weirdly though, the old Toyota Venza was kind of ahead of its time. Let me explain. It was a tallish, two-row kind of wagon that had quite a lot of interior space, a decent amount of cargo space, which makes it like a lot of current crossover utility vehicles that are being offered right now. In the early 2010s, a lot of automakers were stuffing third rows where they didn't belong. But now we're seeing SUVs like the Ford Edge, the Chevy Trailblazer, and the Honda Passport maximize interior space and cargo and leave sort of the third row people hauling to their larger siblings. Now, the Venza is back, but in hybrid form only. So is this new Venza kind of ahead of its time like the old Venza was? Well, no, if I'm being honest. But for many of you, in fact, a great many of you, this might be exactly the type of crossover SUV you're looking for. What's going on, everyone? Jax here, and today I have the 2021 Toyota Venza. Let's talk styling first, because you can't ignore the fact that the Toyota Venza is pushing Toyota's design language in a sort of all-new direction, for better or worse, depending on what you think. Personally, I think from some angles, the styling looks pretty good, and the LED lighting all around makes it look sort of upscale and modern. Now, from other angles, it can be a little awkward, maybe even a little sort of beakish from the front. Not really sure what that was, but kind of beakish from the front. This. Basically, I think this front angle is sort of the most divisive. I don't actually mind it all that much, but you'll have to decide for yourself. And it's certainly not as hideously ugly as the upcoming Hyundai Santa Fe, or the Elantra, or the Tucson, but it's definitely not as attractive as the all-new Buick Envision, which I happen to have in the driveway right now at the same time. And it's not really as good as the perennially good-looking Mazda CX-5. It's not quite as sporty looking as the Chevy Blazer, but it is better looking than the oval turd that is the Ford Edge, or that orange piece of trash that is the Nissan Murano. Seriously, why are they always orange? Why are they always trash? Well, we know why they're trash, but why are they always orange? But for something that is quite literally a reskinned Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, the Venza does a lot to differentiate itself from the crowd, and it is a crowded segment. I mean, this is easily one of the most crowded fields in the entire automotive kingdom. The Venza sort of has to compete against much larger and roomier two-row SUVs like the Honda Passport without being so large that it encroaches on Toyota's own Highlander, which is itself a little smallish for its class of three-row SUVs. It needs to be more luxurious than its sort of corporate twin, the RAV4, without being too luxurious and then stepping on Lexus's toes. Basically, the Venza has to be a jack of all trades and master of none. And oddly enough, that's kind of actually the perfect way to describe it. Take the powertrain, for example. It's Toyota's familiar system, comprised of a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine mated to a CVT automatic transmission that is juggling power between the engine and two electric motors. I don't have the hood up because that engine is about as exciting to look at as a chef's salad. And although it makes only about 219 horsepower combined, the two electric motors help it to feel a little bit more enthusiastic than it actually is. However, 0 to 60 still happens in about 7.5 seconds, which is not bad for the class, but it's definitely not going to blow your hair back. Not sure why your hair would be blown back anyway, because this isn't a convertible, so that's a stupid comparison. Part of the reason for that is that the Venza weighs a healthy 3,800 pounds, which sort of keeps its acceleration in check and makes it about average.
Not great, not terrible.
The main advantage here, obviously, is that no one does hybrids better than Toyota, and the hybrid system here in Venza trim is truly excellent. It returns a claimed average of 39 miles per gallon, which is pretty good in a vehicle of this size, and it is utterly seamless, totally transparent. You never even know that it's working. The only real drawback is a little bit of thrashiness from the 2.5-liter four-cylinder under heavier loads. But it's really only noticeable because the rest of the driving experience is so serene. And serene is really how you describe the experience of the Venza in general. So, as you'd expect, the Venza does not have the most amazing steering feel. The steering is pretty numb, awfully light as well, but, you know, not out of character for a vehicle like this. I don't think anyone gets into hybrid crossover and expects the most amazing steering feel in the world, so I don't really have a problem with it. It's accurate, it doesn't, you know, feel terrible, it's just sort of light and numb. What is surprisingly good, though, is the brake pedal feel. Toyota has sort of been king of the hybrid game for a long time now, and I've always had a little bit of an issue with their brakes. They tend to be maybe a little overly grabby, especially in their hybrids. They feel a little bit artificial. I guess it's the sort of switch over between like regen and actual braking. But the brake pedal calibration in the Venza is by far the best I've ever experienced in a Toyota product. Probably a Toyota product, period, recently. Definitely in a Toyota hybrid. It's very, very well tuned. Very easy to modulate, very easy to tell when it's doing the sort of hybrid thing and then transitioning into like actual bite down, you know, in a more severe stopping situation. So well done there, Toyota, excellent work. Similarly, the throttle pedal also feels quite good. It's very easy to kind of keep this EV in EV mode at low speeds and then determine when the gas engine is going to turn on. It's very kind of precise, for lack of a better word, and that's surprising coming from a sort of, you know, everyday hybrid crossover. But Toyota definitely did their homework on the throttle and brake calibration. It is extremely well done. I know that's a weird thing to kind of go on about in a vehicle like this, but it's just noteworthy because in many Toyota products, it can be a little artificial or grabby. Another thing that I think they did a pretty good job with is the suspension. Don't get me wrong, it's soft. It's not too soft. I would say it borders on too soft, but it stays on the comfortable side of soft without kind of losing composure. Now, of course, even though we're in less than ideal conditions, we're gonna go down the handling road because I do have an opportunity for that today, so I'm gonna take it. And over this first rough patch coming up, the Venza kind of irons out the bumps. It doesn't get too crazy. See, like it's maintaining its composure. I would say there's a little more secondary motion than I would like, but overall it's pretty good. There's a little bit of roll kind of going around the first sharp corner here, but not out of character with a crossover SUV, especially a hybrid one. And in general, the Venza does its best sort of impression of luxury. I mean, to be honest with you, the Venza is very Lexus-like. It wouldn't be out of place in the Lexus lineup if it had a less attractive face. And as we come up to the big bump, the Venza does a good job of absorbing it without kind of going crazy. Its secondary motion is minimal. It's definitely trying to keep you comfortable and not disturb you. I'd say there's a little bit more head motion than I would like, a little bit of head toss, but it's doing a good job overall.
Plus, this is a Toyota hybrid SUV. Like, what do you really want here? You know what I'm saying? All right, one thing I do need to go on a bit about are these seats. They are fan-freaking-tastic seats. These are like the exact kind of seats that you would want in your everyday daily driver crossover utility vehicle. They are superb seats. They're so comfortable without being shapeless. I did kind of brag about the seats in the brand new Highlander, the current gen Highlander, the 2021 I tested recently, link in the description. And I don't know if this one is using the same seats and somehow maybe even improved on them, but they are fantastic. They are just so comfortable yet supportive. They've got just enough adjustability without the price going through the roof. They're just really, really good. This is an extremely comfortable car, and I use sort of our epic Disney trips as my metric for like long-term driving, and I would love to drive this car to Disney. This would be the perfect car. If you don't know, if you're new here, we live in Atlanta. It's about a 6.5 hour, 7-hour trip. This car would be amazing, and you would get pretty good fuel economy. It's also very quiet in here, except under, you know, harder acceleration. The gas engine is a little thrashy, and not in like a super awesome, like, ooh, I'm a cool 4-cylinder kind of way, in more of like, I'm a nerdy, efficient 4-cylinder kind of way. So it's not exactly the sound you really want coming through the cabin, but honestly, as long as you're not mashing the throttle, you won't notice it. It's not like a deal breaker or anything. It's just kind of unbecoming considering this car is like really nice inside. This is a really nice car. It's a weird car, to be honest with you. Like, why? Why is this car? Like, why? But I'm glad it exists, especially at this trim level. Even though we don't have the cool frosted sunroof, I know it's a little bit of a disappointment, but I think it helps to keep the price in a very reasonable spot. Like, this is a compelling alternative to a lot of the cars on the market. Compelling choice, I guess, because I would choose this over a lot of similar vehicles. And I mean, what do you say about Toyota's hybrid systems at this point? They're perfect. I mean, I thought the current RAV4 Hybrid and RAV4 Prime, which I just tested, link also in the description. I thought their hybrid systems were great, and this somehow manages to be like even more seamless. Like, you literally don't even notice it. You don't even notice it at all. If you just drove this around and you didn't try to kind of like maximize the efficiency, you were just driving it as a completely normal car, not paying any attention to when it was switching, you would never know. You would never know when it switches between hybrid and gas power. I mean, this is the best case yet, honestly, for like, why aren't most cars just hybrids? Like everyday cars, not, you know, like really enthusiast cars, but everyday cars. Because I'm an enthusiast. The whole point of this channel is like normal dad enthusiast drives all these cars, and this would be a phenomenal car to drive every day because it's giving you all of the benefits and none of the drawbacks. You pair this with that Veloster Inn I had, and it'd be quite a 2-car garage for a growing family. Not for my giant family. We need something bigger than this. Probably have to be that Tahoe Z71. You know what? I'm just gonna put all the links in the description because I'm just being a shameless, self-plugging shill right now, and you know, if you're new here, welcome. The entire channel is in the description. And I know I'll talk about it in the interior portion, but while I'm in the car, let me just point out that the overall ambiance of the interior is really good. I mean, it looks different. It's kind of fun. You've got this like piping and stitching, and it just feels like a very nice vehicle. This car would cover like 99% of most SUV buyers' needs.
And to be honest with you, the interior of the Venza really shines. In fact, I would say that the Venza does an excellent job of sort of going out of its way to spoil you just enough to make you feel like this is a much more upscale and premium vehicle than it actually is. The fake wood accents and the soft touch materials with the stitching and the piping go a long way to differentiate the Venza's interior from that of the boring sort of functionality of the RAV4. And thanks to the $500 Soft Tex package, Soft Tex? Like, why do they call it Soft Tex? Call call it pleather? I don't know, Softex? But thanks to that package, the Venza's extremely comfortable fake leather seats are both heated and cooled, and the steering wheel is heated as well, which is 100% worth it in my opinion. It's just too bad there's not a surround view camera, but you know what else is totally worth it? The $2,000 premium audio package, which comes with Toyota's excellent 12.3-inch infotainment display, as well as a 9-speaker JBL sound system. That's pretty good. In my opinion, it's better here than it is in the RAV4. Toyota's standard, whatever it is, 8-inch unit kind of looks like trash by today's standards, but the 12.3-inch unit looks very premium and it operates flawlessly, and it allows you to have quite a bit of information on screen at the same time. Overall, the Venza's cabin is an excellent place to crush highway miles, and you certainly won't mind crushing hundreds and hundreds of highway miles in these truly excellent seats. Space is a little limited in here, and the Venza is definitely more of a sort of family runabout than a family sole vehicle. In most measurements, the Venza is slightly smaller than the Toyota RAV4, and it can only carry 29 cubic feet of stuff behind its second row. For comparison, the much larger Honda Passport can swallow a frankly incredible 41 cubic feet of cargo and stuff behind its second row. And I only mention that because you can get a very nice Honda Passport for the Venza's as-tested price as you see it here for a smidge under 40 grand. So it is reasonable to assume that some buyers might cross-shop those two SUVs. So with that being said, should you buy something like a Toyota Venza as opposed to Toyota's own RAV4 or something like a Chevy Blazer or a Honda Passport? I personally think that the Venza makes a compelling case for itself because it hits an extremely sweet spot within its market segment.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
It looks upscale on the outside, and it looks and feels upscale on the inside, while still presenting a solid value proposition. It drives very well for what it is, and it looks and feels sort of expensive enough and premium enough that it makes its owners feel as though they spoiled themselves a little bit, but they were frugal enough that they didn't buy into the full Lexus step up in the market. So they feel good about themselves. They got a lot for their money, and they can pat themselves on the back for a good car buying decision.
Thanks for the advice.
I mean, the Venza maxes out at just over 43 grand, and you can get on it a trick sort of frosted sunroof that goes from clear to opaque at the touch of a button, and you can't get that on anything else that's not a Rolls-Royce, so that's pretty cool. And you get Toyota's excellent suite of safety systems, Toyota's reputation for dependability and reliability, and a generally excellent driving experience. Are there drawbacks? I mean, sure. The touch-sensitive buttons that control the infotainment system are kinda stupid, and the Venza is incapable of towing, but you're never actually gonna get that jet ski, so just shut up about it.
That escalated quickly.
Same with the touch-sensitive buttons. It's a minor irritation, but guess what? That's why there's steering wheel controls, you moron, so just press the volume button on the steering wheel. Seriously, auto journalists, stop complaining about volume knobs. Yes, it is a slight irritation, but they're all on the steering wheel, so just press the button on the wheel and shut up about it. If you like the styling, or you simply don't mind the styling, then the Venza might actually be at the top of its class depending on your personal priorities. It's a truly excellent all-around package that I imagine might be exactly what a lot of you are looking for. Guys, thanks so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. I think the Venza is an interesting SUV. To me, it sort of makes a weird kind of sense that Toyota would reskin one of its most popular models, sprinkle in some upscale touches, and then sort of sell it to a slightly different, maybe market demographic. And I think when people are honest about their needs and their priorities, it's probably all of the SUV that you really need, especially if you have, well, no children or very small children, it's definitely the kind of SUV that you could grow into or grow from. I hope you found this informative and useful. If so, please consider giving it a like. It really does truly help the channel. And if you like these reviews, consider subscribing and joining this sort of growing community that I'm trying to start here on YouTube. I would really appreciate it. And until next time, ride safe, drive safe, and I will catch you in the next review. Peace. My God, it's the same person with the same barking dog in the same Audi. Oh, you just seem like a jerk. God, I can literally still hear your dog. You are driving away on the street and I can still hear your dog. Your neighbors hate you. The world hates you. Part of the reason for that is that the Venza Jesus Christ. Shut up, bird. It's from the 2.5 cylinder. Of course you had to turn in here with your obnoxious truck. Really noticeable, but it's a Chevy Tahoe. It's literally a 1998 Chevy Tahoe that's making all this racket. Just utterly obscene. And he's gonna rev it up some more. Sometimes I think people do that on purpose. They're like, hey, this guy's filming something. I'm gonna rev it up some more because I hate you. Good God. Yes, you're speeding in your Tahoe that probably cost $2,000. What a piece of crap. Not to mention it's about like 35 degrees. Whatever that was, it wasn't that funny.